Bedtime was 8 o'clock. Break it down, Mr. Schaffler.
Senators Mabile,
They're on.
Baisley, Ball, Benavidez, Bridges, Bright, Carson, Catlin, Cutter, Danielson, Doherty, Exum, Frizzell, Gonzalez, Hendrickson, Judah, Kip, Kirkmeyer, Colker, Lindstedt, Liston, Marchman, Mullica, Pelton B,
Hey, Nick, you know where Sully is?
Peltonar,
The person we're missing.
Rich, Roberts, Rodriguez,
Here. There he is.
Simpson,
Robert, we got everybody. Robert. Wow.
Snyder,
Robert, we got everybody, right?
Sullivan,
Mr. Majority Leader,
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the call be raised.
the motion is that the call be raised. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the call has been raised. Announcements, Senator Mabile.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we will be having appropriations tomorrow morning at 8:30 in LSBB, and we will be hearing House Bill 1430 and other bills as assigned.
Very good. Further announcements, Senator Bridges. No. Further announcements. All right. Committee reports.
Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1029 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation to be placed in the consent calendar. House Bill 1033 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation to be placed in the consent calendar. House Bill 1274 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. House Bill 1286 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. House Bill 1307 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that it be placed in the consent calendar. House Bill 1325 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. House Bill 1326 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. House Bill 1416 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. House Bill 1418 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. House Bill 1422 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. House Bill 1425 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. House Bill 1429 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. House Bill 1433 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate take up special orders second reading of bills consent calendar, which is House Bill 1029, 1033, and 1307 at the hour of 9:52 p.m.
The motion is to take up those bills on special orders. It is at the consent at the hour of 9:52 p.m. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The Senate will take up those bills on special orders. Consent at the hour at 9:52 p.m. Special orders, second reading of bills. Senator Bridges. Consent calendar, Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself in Committee of the Whole for consideration of special orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar.
Given the motion, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Senate resolved, subcommittee of the whole consideration of special orders. Second reading of bills, consent calendar. Senator Bridges will take the chair.
The committee will come to order, and the Coat Rule, I think, isn't even in effect right now. So, will the clerk please read the title to all of the bills on the special orders, second reading of bills consent calendar?
House Bill 1029 by Representatives Hamrick and Carter and Senator Marchman concerning enhancing representation in higher education by altering the membership of certain entities involved in higher education policy development in the state. House Bill 1033 by Representatives Gonzalez and Duran and Senators Rodriguez and Pelton B concerning expanding the scope of the Colorado Cottage Foods Act and in connection therewith making an appropriation. House Bill 1307 by Representatives Gilchrist and Bradley and Senators Mullica and Rich concerning the continuation of the Colorado Medical Board and in connection therewith implementing the recommendations of the Department of Regulatory Agencies and the Sunset Department's 2025 Sunset Report.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move for the passage of all the bills on special order, second reading of bills consent calendar, which is House Bill 1029, House Bill 1033 in the Ag and Natural Resources Report, the Finance Report, House Bill 1307.
The motion before the committee is the adoption of the committee reports on the special orders, second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Those committee reports are adopted. To the bills, the motion before us is the adoption of all of the bills on the special orders, second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Those bills are adopted. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for the committee to rise and report.
Motion is for the committee to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
I'm on a football diet. For sure. The Senate will come to order. Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
May 11, 2026. Mr. President, Committee of the Whole begs leave to report is under consideration the following attached bills being second reading thereof, makes following recommendations thereon. House Bill 1029, House Bill 1033 as amended, House Bill 1307 passed on second reading, ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading, final passage.
Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the report.
The motion is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 0 excused, Committee of the Whole report is adopted. House Bill 1029, 1033 is amended, 1307 passed second reading, revised, placed on third reading, and final passage. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate take up on special order, second reading of bills, House Bill 1335, 1281, 1289, 1326, 1255, 1309, 1065, 1102, 1223, 1272, 1141, 1424, 1138, 1426, 1427, 1274, 1286, 1325, 1416, 1422, 1425, 1429, 1433, and 1418 at the hour of 9:55 p.m.
The motion is to take up those bills and special orders at the hour of 9:55 p.m. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. That motion is adopted. The Senate will take up those bills and special orders at the hour of 9:55 p.m. Special orders, second reading of the bills. Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself, the Committee of the Whole, for consideration of special orders, second reading of bills.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Senate resolve subcommittee of the Whole for consideration of special orders, second reading of bills. Senator Bridges will take the chair.
Thank you. The committee will come to order, and the Coat Rule is relaxed. I think was already relaxed, but for all those who wish to remove their coats, then I have permission to grant permission to remove them. Please remove your jackets if you so wish. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1335 until Tuesday, May the 12th.
Motion is to lay over House Bill 1335. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. That bill will lay over. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the Senate lay over House Bill 1281 until Tuesday, May the 12th.
Motion is to lay over House Bill 1281. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. That bill will lay over. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1289 until Tuesday, May the 12th.
Motion is to lay over House Bill 1289. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. That bill will lay over. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1326?
House Bill 1326 by Representatives Duran and Wilford and Senators Rodriguez and Cutter concerning the continuation of the Public Utilities Commission and in connection therewith, implementing the recommendations of the 2025 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies and making an appropriation.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1326 in the Finance and Appropriations Report.
To the Finance Report. Any
Thank
discussion?
you. In the Finance Report, we heard the bill. We made some amendments to put in third-party contracting that needed to be negotiated from the House, and also carved out a section of the bill that removed PUC control from local governments.
Thank you. And members, just as a reminder, the way I run this is if you are not in the well with your hand up, we are calling the question. So if you want to say something, please make sure you are in the well and ready to raise your hand. Otherwise, we will be moving on. In the well with your hand raised. Thank you. Those are the ground rules. Appreciate it. Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the Finance Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The Finance report is adopted. To the Appropriations report.
Thank you,
Seeing-
Mr. Chair. We appropriated the cash funds that continue to keep the PC open. Ask for an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. That report is adopted. To the bill. Any discussion?
Thank you, colleagues. I want to thank you all who heard the bill in two committees and the work that was done on this bill. I appreciate all the work from the stakeholders, from labor unions, utilities, environmental organizations, community advocates, local governments, and the governor's office, every voice to shape this process. We think this bill is a good place, and we ask for an aye vote.
Mr. Minority Leader. Good work buying time for your colleagues.
Yeah, majority leader. You want that? And that? Okay, all right.
Yeah, Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you,
please.
Mr. Chair. Heard this bill in committee an hour ago, and appreciate all the work the sponsors put in, getting everybody to a, I guess, a reasonable position. The majority leader did talk about, if everybody's not 100% happy, the bill probably did what it was intended to do. So I supported it in Finance Committee an hour ago and continue to be in support and wanted to give my other colleague an opportunity to talk.
Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a couple of questions, and I was trying to find it in the bill. And so I am wondering if in the bill, well, first of all, on the fiscal note, it made comments, and I didn't have the bill in front of me, and I haven't had time to go through the amended bill. But in making commissioner appointments, it says the governor is required to consider individuals who are knowledgeable of the industries that the PUC regulates. So was that not what he was supposed to be doing for the last 7 years? It says, I know. So is there someplace in the bill that requires the governor to consider individuals who are knowledgeable of the industries that the PUC regulates? Because that's what's in the fiscal note. That's why I'm asking.
Senator Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe that was just clarification, just language that, that stakeholders asked for to clarify that that was happening. It is happening, but they wanted it to be spelled out specifically in statute.
Okay. And then
Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And then my question also in appropriations was with regard to the PUC meeting. And again, in the fiscal note, it just says the PUC is permitted to hold weekly meetings, and a majority of the commissioners must attend. So they all don't have to attend in person because these are quasi-judicial meetings.
Senator Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. They are meeting, sometimes they're not meeting in person, and this is going to require rulemaking in the future. I can find the specific piece here, but this is going to require rulemaking in the future and them to have to be meeting in person uniformly.
So all of them.
Yeah, all
Okay.
three.
Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Pleasure.
Well, that's good, because this is a quasi-judicial board, and it's kind of beyond me why they weren't meeting in person in the first place. So happy to hear that in the sunset review, we're going to start requiring them to meet in person. Correct?
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you. In the bill, they are going to have some meetings and a study and get gather data to see how they can better do that. And also looking at whether they can expand the PUC further. Those are discussions that were had negotiated out. So they had discussions about having discussions whether we should expand the PUC members and looking at ways to be able to get them in person.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1326. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. 1326 is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1255?
House Bill 1255 by Representative Story and Senator Cutter, concerning protections for users of electronic media and in connection therewith requiring an operator of a social media platform to ensure the social media platform provides a streamlined process to allow law enforcement agency to contact the social media platform concerning a search warrant and requiring an operator to report to a local law enforcement agency if the operator's social media platform takes an adverse action against a user of the social media platform.
Senator Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1255 and the Judiciary Report.
To the Judiciary Report. Any discussion?
In Judiciary, we made some amendments for stakeholders to clarify some language directly in response to some stakeholder concerns.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the Judiciary Committee Report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no.
Aye.
The ayes have it. That report is adopted. To the bill, Senator Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, it's late, and I will try to be as brief as possible, but this is a really important bill to my community, and I want to take a few minutes to discuss the background and why it is important, so you know. On September 10th, 2025, the shooting at Evergreen High School completely shattered the peace of the community. The perpetrator, a 16-year-old student at the school, shot and critically injured 2 students before taking his own life. In all, around 20 rounds were fired over the course of 9 minutes, both inside and outside Evergreen High School. That's 9 minutes that permanently altered the Evergreen community, and its effects will be felt for years. Even now, some teachers and students struggle to return to the building, haunted by the graphic memories that stay with them every single day. Families continue to wrestle with the heavy uncertainty of whether their children and loved ones are truly safe the moment they leave home. Despite the unspeakable horror of this event, the Evergreen community united together in really remarkable display of resilience and strength. And in our committee, we heard from students, teachers, grieving families, who came out to testify in support of this. They're very encouraged that we are moving forward to do something to address this. And I'll just, you members, you can be seated. Thank you very much for the acknowledgement. So briefly, this bill, under our current system, social media platforms have 35 days to respond to judicial search warrants. 3 separate warrants are required, judicial search warrants are required just to identify a single individual. Each respective search warrant uncovers a different layer of the identity, the IP address, the URL, and finally the contact information for the user. So in total, this process took 70 days to identify the user because a social media post had foreshadowed this attack. And it was flagged by the ADL in New York as early as July 5th. And then this complaint process started forward, but it took 70 days. Tragically, the shooting occurred 2 days before this information finally reached local law enforcement, highlighting a really critical gap in how threats made on social media are identified, reported, investigated. So for the past several months, stakeholders have been working together, including the sheriff from my community, Sheriff Marinelli, and District Attorney Doherty from Boulder, and a significant number of stakeholders, and my prime sponsor in the House, Representative Story, worked hard to address this crisis. So this requires social media companies to comply with search warrants within 24 hours, and it requires platforms to provide a streamlined process for law enforcement to contact them, including a 24/7 staffed hotline. So in addition to these requirements, it establishes a duty to report for social media companies. So this duty is triggered when a platform takes adverse action. A platform, a social media platform, specifically the restriction, suspension, or termination of a user account in response to content that violates platform policies concerning specific and imminent threats. The platform must report the content allegedly posted by the user to a local law enforcement agency no more than 24 hours after that adverse action is taken. So there's a few things I want to make clear. This is a similar, there's a similar policy that has gone through this chamber, and we have made conforming amendments so that they're harmonized. And fundamentally, this bill is just about saving lives. And I hope that you all can see your way to support this for our community as a way to address this violence and prevent it from happening again.
Senator Zamora Wilson. Oh, there is an amendment at the desk. Will the clerk please read L18?
Amendment L18, amended Judiciary Committee
Senator
report.
Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this amendment is conforming additional conformities to Senate Bill 11, really harmonizing both of the bills. And it amends the committee report to amend language in the bill rather than remove it. So it's just harmonizing the two bills essentially. And I ask your support.
Is there any further discussion of L18? Senator Zamora Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I urge a no vote on L018. Again, this is like I can't go through it all, but I'm seeing inclusion of, we're talking about reproductive health care, sexual health services, related patient advocacy or support services, and it goes on. I urge a no vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before us is the adoption of L018. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. Ayes have it, and L018 is adopted. To the bill, any discussion? Senator Zamora Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We heard this in committee, and we heard concerns from law enforcement, not law enforcement, citizens, where they were concerned about handing data over to law enforcement without provisions. And so as you know, I believe in small government and individual rights, the rule of law, and the sacred protections of our U.S. and Colorado constitutions. And this bill fails every one of those tests. It represents the kind of well-intentioned but dangerous government overreach that trades real liberty for the illusion of security. And we all mourn the tragedies like the shooting at Evergreen High School, and no one wants to see innocent lives lost. But the answer to evil is not to erode the God-given rights that define us as free people. And the Constitution is not a suggestion to be set aside when emotions run high. It is the guardrail against tyranny, especially in times of fear. And House Bill 1255 weakens those guardrails. So what this bill does, it forces social media platforms to maintain a 24/7 staffed hotline for law enforcement. Platforms must acknowledge search warrants within 8 hours, provide status updates, and generally comply within 24 hours. More troubling is the duty to report. If a platform takes adverse action against a user, banning, suspending, or restricting them for content the platform judges, threatens, threaten imminent harm, extends a crime, or entices crime, they must report it to local law enforcement within 24 hours. Handing over identifying data like IP addresses, emails, and more. Violations trigger massive fines under the Consumer Protection Act, up to $250,000 per violation enforced by the Attorney General. So our Constitution protects against unreasonable searches and seizures precisely to prevent fishing expeditions and abuse of power. And you know how I feel about government surveillance. And we have this creep that's coming through, whether through the Patriot Act expansions, FISA abuses, or local overreach. And this bill continues that pattern by outsourcing surveillance to corporations compelled by state penalties. And today it's threats, tomorrow vague misinformation, political dissent, or hate speech as defined by whoever holds the power. And this can have a chilling effect on free speech, protected under the First Amendment. And consider the costs, monetary and non-monetary, to those impacted and to the taxpayers. The monetary costs, we will see that compliance isn't free. Platforms must build and staff always-on hotlines, dedicated teams for rapid warrant processing, legal reviews, and reporting systems. And these costs run into the millions across operations, especially for smaller or emerging platforms. And who pays? Users, through higher prices, premium fees, or reduced services, or the shareholders. But ultimately, it raises barriers to entry, entrenches big tech dominance, and stifles innovation in a free market. And Colorado's Attorney General's office and courts will face increased workload for enforcement, investigation, and litigation, even if the fiscal note downplays it as minimal. Taxpayers foot the bill for any additional state resources, potential lawsuits from platforms, or users claiming overreach and lost economic activity from regulatory burden. In the non-monetary costs, they're even steeper. Innocent users face deplatforming, followed by police scrutiny for edgy, controversial, or mistaken posts, parents venting frustration, activists protesting government policy, or teens engaging in hyperbolic online talk that could trigger reports. And this creates a surveillance chill. People self-censor, retreat from public discourse, or abandon platforms altogether. And then we have trust erodes between users and platforms, citizens and government. The false positives will harm reputations, careers, and families without due process. In a polarized time, this weaponizes corporate moderation against disfavored viewpoints, amplifying the very cultural divisions we seek to heal. This inverts federalism and limited government. We don't solve problems by centralizing power or conscripting private enterprise into law enforcement. True safety comes from strong families, moral communities, effective policing with accountability, mental health resources, and prosecuting real crimes, not preemptively monitoring speech. And the founders knew concentrated power invites abuse. Madison warned in Federalist 47 that accumulating legislative, executive, and judicial powers leads to tyranny. And here the state pressures private actors to blend moderation, investigation, and reporting roles. That's not liberty. Now, we've heard that hours matter in threats. Fair enough. But existing law already allows emergency warrants in exigent circumstances. Platforms often cooperate with valid legal process, and this bill's rigid timelines and penalties invite overcompliance and mission creep. It doesn't target only imminent violence. The vague language around adverse actions and platform judgments opens doors wide. So I would ask that we reject the false choice between safety and freedom. History shows that when governments expand surveillance for the children or against threats, the infrastructure remains for future misuse against political opponents, religious groups, or everyday citizens. As Ronald Reagan reminded us, government is not the solution, it is often the problem. I urge a no vote on HB 26-1255, not because we lack compassion for victims, but because we cherish the Republic enough to defend its foundation. Liberty once lost is rarely regained without great cost. Thank you.
Senator Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to share that my good colleague from the Air Force Academy and I share a respect for the Fourth Amendment. We were carrying a bill together that unfortunately didn't move forward called The Fourth Amendment is Not for Sale. This is a critically important issue to me as well. This bill, this was of deep concern, and I made sure that the ACLU was fine with the way this language was played out, and we made a very, very clear definition of how a social media company would report, and that is based on their existing process to report on violence, something that was consistent with what we're looking for, not just, random goofy speech or whatever. It's really difficult to listen to this be reduced, violence against children, to be reduced to money for social media platforms. Nothing is perfect. No solution is perfect. But we have got to do something to address the rampant violence in our communities, especially in schools. And I know there's much that's going on to address this, but here we're challenged constantly to bring forward solutions that don't involve Second Amendment issues. Here's one, right here. And yet, we're gonna poke holes in that. Nothing is perfect. There's costs to everything. I would rather they not be paid in children's lives. This bill just makes good common sense. Law enforcement supports this bill. Law enforcement worked on this bill. I believe our rights are preserved, and I believe it's worth exploring this option to stop the violence before it happens. I hope you can support this today.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1255. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. That bill is adopted. Mr. Majority Leader.
I thought so. It's on my list. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over 1309 until Tuesday, May the 12th.
Motion is to lay over House Bill 1309. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. That bill will lay over. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1065?
House Bill 1065 by Representatives McCluskey and Woodrow and Senators Roberts and Exum concerning transit and housing investment zones and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1065, the Finance Committee report and the Appropriations Committee report.
To the Finance Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We adopted one amendment that made some technical changes as requested by the various departments. Ask for an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the Finance Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. That report is adopted. Is there any discussion of the Appropriations Committee report? Seeing none, the motion before us is the adoption of that report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed,
Aye.
no. Ayes have it. That report is adopted. To the bill, any discussion? Senator Exum.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Want to thank my co-prime sponsor from Frisco. Moving around. Okay. And this is a good bill in offering some different opportunities, different chances to bring about affordable housing in our transit areas. I'll just talk about a couple of things that the bill does. we're creating transit investment areas to be run as how the project should be developed and approved or rejected, with everything leaning toward transparency. There's even a cap on how many investment areas can be approved in one calendar year, just 3, and how many can be going on at the same time, a total of 6. And how much money can be taken from the state to use in these local investment areas, up to $75 million in a given fiscal year. Similarly, there is a limit on how much money can be spent in affordable housing tax credit, total of $350 million over 12 years. These are all good guardrails for this bill for transparency and financial security. Public transport is a vital service. Well-developed transport hubs near populated areas are a growing necessity, and affordable housing units near public transit systems is a smart public policy, and we ask for your support.
Senator Benavides.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, we heard this bill in committee, and this sounds like a great idea to set up housing hubs around transit. It makes it easier for people to get around. But what this bill does in doing that is it takes roughly $500 million from general fund to pay for this. We don't call it general fund because they say it's a diversion of sales tax. The credits are general fund, but the direct impact on sales tax is what is guiding this. So effectively, over this period of time, we will have a reduction in general fund at a time when we least can afford it. On top of that, the bill talks about the housing around those transit areas is usually more expensive than other housing. And the witness from Chaffa agreed that we have a housing crisis. That was her term. But this bill does not affect the deeply affordable housing that we most need. She agreed that that is our biggest problem with housing. This is not going to address that. We use that term affordable housing pretty loosely. And it gives them authority to also change the AMI that's used in order to accommodate the higher priced housing if necessary. Nothing in this really looks to the deeply affordable housing. Between that and the diversion of general fund to the tune of roughly $500 million, this is not the way to do this. This is not how we should pay for housing for people that can't afford housing, especially when we need that general fund, and we're going to need it next year and the year after that. And we're going to be looking for it because we're giving it away. So I urge a no vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1065. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. That bill is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1102?
House Bill 1102 by Representatives Lindsay and Senator Snyder concerning the funding of the Colorado Drives Vehicle Services Account and the Highway Users Tax Fund.
Senator Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1102, the Finance Committee report, and the Appropriations report.
To the Finance report. Any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before us is the adoption of the Finance Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. That report is adopted. Any discussion of the Appropriations report? Seeing none, the motion before us is the adoption of that report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. That report is adopted. To the bill. Any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1102. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. That bill is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1223?
House Bill 1223 by Representatives Woodrow and Basnaker and Senators Ball and Roberts concerning modifying certain tax expenditures.
Senator Ball.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 261223 and the associated Finance and Appropriations Committee reports.
To the Finance report. Any discussion?
In the Finance Committee, we changed some pieces of this bill to include allocating money towards 2 separate tax credits that benefit restaurants.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the Finance Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. That report is adopted. Any discussion of the appropriations report? Senator Ball.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And appropriations, we made mostly technical amendments to account for the amendments that we made in finance, and I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before us is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. That report is adopted. To the bill. Any discussion? Seeing Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe my colleague has an amendment that we'd like to run.
There is an amendment at the desk. Will the clerk please read L26?
Amendment L26.
Senator Ball.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Primarily, this amendment strikes the legislative declaration, although it makes a couple of small conforming changes in addition to that. And I ask for an aye vote on L26.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before us is the adoption of L26. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. L26 is adopted. To the bill. Any discussion? Senator Roberts.
We'll let the...
Senator Pelton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise in opposition to House Bill 26-1223. Members, this bill is another example of the state trying to solve affordability by shifting costs elsewhere. In this case, the bill narrows Colorado's existing sales and use tax exemption for downloadable software, making this more software purchases taxable beginning January 1st, 2027. It then uses the new revenue generated from the tax change to fund an expanded refundable family affordable credit. The policy may be presented as targeted, but the practical effect is much broader. This bill would raise the cost of software at a time when these technologies are no longer niche products or luxury goods. It is part of the basic infrastructure of running a business, serving customers, protecting data, and participating in the modern economy. Under the bill, only custom software developed for use by a particular user and software governed by a negotiable license agreement would remain exempt from state sales and use tax. Other forms of downloadable software would become taxable. Essentially, if a business uses ordinary downloadable software that does not fall into those remaining exempt categories, Colorado will now tax it. That matters because most small and mid-sized businesses do not have custom-built software systems or teams of lawyers negotiating specialized license agreements. They use standard products. They use accounting software, payroll software, scheduling platforms, point-of-sale systems, customer management tools, cybersecurity products, design programs, inventory systems, and basic productivity applications. Those tools are often the only reason a small business can operate efficiently enough to compete. A restaurant may use software to process orders, schedule employees, manage reservations, and track payroll. A contractor may use software to estimate projects, communicate with clients, and manage invoices. A small retailer may rely on downloadable tools to track inventory, manage online sales, and collect payments. A rural business may use software to reach customers it cannot otherwise reach. House Bill 26-1223 makes those costs higher. Members, we should be especially careful about taxing technology that helps small businesses become more productive. For years, the state has said it wants innovation, entrepreneurship, and modernized operations. We say we want employers to compete in a changing economy. But when we tax ordinary software more heavily, we move in the opposite direction. Larger, better resourced businesses are more likely to have custom software and negotiable license agreements that can remain exempt. The small businesses buying a standard downloadable product is less likely to have the kind of leverage. That this is one of the central problems with this bill. It may sound like a technology or a technical sales tax change, but in practice, it can fail or it can fall hardest on businesses with the least ability to avoid to absorb it. That's not good tax policy. Members, there's no question that Colorado families are struggling. Housing is expensive, childcare is expensive, groceries are expensive, energy is expensive. Families feel those costs every month. But the answer should not be to create a new tax on common business tools and then route the money through another credit. That does not make the underlying economy more affordable, it shifts the costs. And when the cost being shifted is tied to software, the effects can spread throughout the entire state economy. Software costs are not isolated to the technology sector. They touch nearly every industry. Healthcare providers use software, schools use software, retailers use software, construction firms use software, agriculture producers use software, professional services use software, manufacturers use software, local employers use software to comply with state and federal rules, manage payroll, and even serve customers. Colorado should be moving toward a simpler, more predictable tax code. Unfortunately, this bill moves us towards a more selective and complicated one. We can care deeply about families without raising the cost of doing business. We can't want tax relief without creating a new burden on the tools employers need to operate. We can support affordability without making Colorado's economy less efficient, but not with this bill. It narrows the downloadable software exemption, makes more software subject to the state sales and use tax, increases costs for businesses that rely on everyday digital tools, and uses the revenue to fund a refundable tax credit for these reasons. I urge a no vote on House Bill 1223.
Senator Liston.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's good to be talking here about House Bill 261223. As many of you all know, I like history, all kinds of history. And so I'd kind of like to spend a little time walking you through the history of this bill and kind of how it came to be and the tax treatment of downloaded software, because it's absolutely riveting. I mean, this will, you'll love history after I'm done with all of this. And I don't think we can fully understand this bill unless we understand how we got there. The idea that downloaded software is somehow a loophole in our tax code is just not accurate. It's not a loophole. It's a result of a very deliberate set of policy decisions that this legislature over the years, after trying a different approach and finding that it didn't work. If you go back to the mid-2000s, of which I'll get a little more specific, the Department of Revenue had what was known as Special Regulation 7, which essentially said that software was only taxable if it met certain criteria. Number one, if it was delivered on a physical medium, if it was prepackaged, or if it came with a so-called tear-open license. That framework made sense at the time because it tied taxability to something tangible, something you could actually hold in your hands, which is what sales tax has traditionally been built around. Then in 2010, when I was here in the legislature in 2010, believe it or not, the legislature tried to modernize that by sweeping more software into the definition of tangible personal property. The idea was to say, well, it doesn't matter how it's delivered, software is software, and we're going to tax it. And what happened? Uncertainty by vendors and purchasers alike. So what did the legislature do the very next year in 2011? I was here in 2011. It reversed its course and it passed House Bill 11-1293, a bill that I co-sponsored, and it created what we now call the downloadable software exemption, removing electronically delivered software from the definition of tangible personal property. And the reasoning was not hard to hand out in a special benefit, but to bring clarity, reduce the administrative burden, and align the tax code with the reality of how software actually is delivered and used. And that's really the key point here. This exemption was about defining the tax base correctly. Sales tax in Colorado applies to tangible personal property. You can hold it in your hands. So the question the legislature had to answer was, is downloaded software tangible personal property? And the answer they arrived at after going back and forth on it was no, it's not. It's a set of coded instructions delivered electronically, often licensed rather than sold, often accessed remotely, sometimes not even not even residing on the user's device, on our computer at all. It behaves much more like a service than a physical good. So we drew a line, and over time, that clarity has been absorbed into the way the economy operates. Vendors know how to apply the exemption. Businesses expect it. In fact, the data we have suggests that the exemption is widely used and widely understood. The state auditor's review of this exemption found that the vast majority of vendors correctly apply it, and that it provides meaningful tax savings to businesses that rely on software to operate. And let's talk about the scale and economic impact for a second. Colorado's businesses are estimated to spend approximately $3.2 billion annually on software. And really, that's nothing to shake a stick at. I think we should at least be honest about what this is. This is a tax increase. The auditor estimated that the existing exemption reduces state revenue by at least $83 million annually, and likely more when you account for individual consumers and data limitations. So if we eliminate or narrow that exemption, that raises, at least in my mind, a pretty straightforward question about Tabor. If we are expanding the tax base in a way that increases revenue, if we are newly subjecting a large category of transaction to sales tax, why are we not asking the voters? Because from where I sit, this looks, walks, and talks like a tax increase. But even setting aside the constitutional question, I think there's a deeper policy issued here about direction. What kind of tax system are we trying to build? Because this bill takes us back towards the very complexity we tried to eliminate in 2011. We are now going to parse license agreement, distinguish between custom and pre-written in more technical, granular ways, and ask vendors and taxpayers to navigate a more complicated set of rules. And layered on top of all of that is the fact that software is no longer optional. It's a core operating expense. If you don't have correct software, nothing will work with what we're trying to do. It's the core operating expense, as I said. When you tax it, you are increasing the cost of doing business, period. The cost gets passed on, and for small businesses especially, those margins are already thin. We talk a lot about supporting small businesses, about encouraging entrepreneurship, about making Colorado a place where people can start and grow a small business or something like that. But then we turn around and tax one of the most essential inputs. Those two really don't add up. To close, I'll come back to a pretty basic set of questions. First of all, why are we undoing a policy that we have deliberately put in place after trying the alternative and rejecting it? And second, Why are we comfortable doing any of this without going to the voters? What signal are we sending to the people and businesses who are deciding whether Colorado is a place where they want to build something long-term? Because as you all know, tax policy is not just about revenue, it's also about incentives. And when I look at this bill in the context of the history, excuse me, the context of how software is actually used today, I have a hard time seeing it as something that will actually incentivize something that's good. So for that reason, and these reasons, members, I urge a no vote on this particular piece of legislation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members, for listening.
Senator Zamora Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I rise in opposition to House Bill 261223, and I urge my colleagues to carefully consider what this bill actually does before casting your vote. And this bill imposes a brand new sales tax on downloaded software and channels every dollar of that revenue into a new refundable tax credit. And let's be clear, this is not tax reform. This is a tax on innovation to fund a government payment program. And Coloradans deserve to know the difference. In 2011, this legislature made a deliberate bipartisan decision to exempt electronically delivered software from the sales tax. This was a recognition that taxing digital goods, the same way that we tax a toaster from Target or a circular saw from Lowe's, does not make economic sense. And since that exemption was enacted, Colorado's technology sector has grown tremendously. You remove the barriers, and we have the economics grows. So we have attracted thousands of jobs, billions in investment, and a reputation as one of the best places in the country to build a tech company. And now the majority wants to reverse that decision, not because the policy failed, but because they need roughly $80 million a year to fund a new spending program. They have chosen to take it from the technology sector because it's a convenient revenue target. And meanwhile, states like Texas, Florida, and Utah roll out the red carpet for the same companies that Colorado is going to tax. Now, the proponents say that the exemption for digital goods is confusing because it is applied differently across the state. And if that is the problem, then clarify the exemption. Don't abolish it entirely. You don't fix a confusing tax rule by punishing businesses and making it more expensive for everyone. And let's be honest about who pays the sales tax on software. It's not a faceless corporation. It's the small business owner in Colorado Springs who buys QuickBooks to manage their accounting. It's the nonprofit in Aurora that relies on project management tools. It's the family in Fountain buying educational software for their children. Businesses pass costs along to consumers. This tax falls on the very families the majority claims to be helping. And Coloradans, you have felt this. Now, the other side of the ledger, this bill creates a new refundable child tax credit. This will be the third child-related credit Colorado has enacted in just a few years. And I want the record to be clear about what refundable means. A refundable credit is not a tax cut. If a family owes no state income tax, the state will still write them a check. That is a direct payment program routed through the tax code. And Colorado already has a state child tax credit. We already have the Family Affordability Tax Credit, which provides up to $3,200 per child for families earning up to $95,000. And the Family Affordability Tax Credit, or FATC, was designed with a trigger. When state revenues don't grow fast enough, the credit shrinks or turns off to protect the budget. That trigger fired this year. The FATC is currently unavailable, and rather than accept that, the safeguard worked exactly as designed. The majority decided to build an entirely new program to get around the guardrail they themselves have put in place. Now think about what that tells you. The majority created the FATC, the Family Affordability Tax Credit, with a fiscal trigger. And the moment the trigger was activated, they built a new way around it. If the trigger was never meant to constrain spending, why include it? And if it was, why are we circumventing it less than 2 years later? That is not responsible governance. That is fiscal gamemanship. I spent 25 years in the Air Force, and I hold a PhD in economics. I've studied economic policy at the Pentagon and taught it at the Air Force Academy. And the clearest lesson I have learned is this: when you tax something, guess what? You get less of it. That's just simple economics. And when you create a government payment program funded by a new tax on a growing industry, you are not helping families. You are trading long-term economic growth for short-term political convenience. If the majority is genuinely concerned about the cost of living for Colorado families, then let's address what is actually driving these costs. Housing regulations that restrict supply, energy mandates that increase prices, and child care rules that limit providers. We do not need another tax and transfer program. We need the political will to remove the barriers making life more expensive in the first place. Sixth most regulated state in the nation. Colleagues, I urge a no vote. This bill taxes innovation. It grows government. It makes Colorado less competitive at a time when we cannot afford to fall behind. Coloradans, you deserve a government that removes barriers to opportunity, not one that builds new bureaucracies on the backs of the industries creating those jobs. I urge a no vote on House Bill 1223. Thank you.
Senator Baisley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I rise today in opposition to House Bill 26-1223. This bill imposes new sales taxes on downloadable and cloud-based software and uses that new revenue to fund a refundable tax credit program. While supporters describe this as a modernization of the tax code, the practical effect is clear. It raises costs on the digital tools that Colorado businesses rely on every single day. Beginning in 2027, software delivered electronically or accessed through the internet will largely become subject to sales tax in Colorado. That means higher costs for accounting platforms, payroll systems, project management software, cybersecurity tools, cloud storage, and countless other services that businesses rely on to operate. Now, perhaps using software in one's business in 1999 was optional, but in today's economy, it is not. It is absolutely vital to running a business, and small businesses simply cannot compete without digital tools. Startups depend on cloud-based services because they reduce upfront costs and allow entrepreneurs to grow efficiently. This bill moves in the opposite direction by making those tools more expensive at a time when businesses are already struggling with inflation, high interest rates, and economic uncertainty. We have to look at this in the broader context of Colorado's economy. Recent reporting from outlets such as the Denver Business Journal and the Colorado Sun has highlighted growing concerns about rising costs in Colorado's national competitiveness. Businesses today have more flexibility than ever in where they locate and invest. States around us are competing aggressively for employers and technology investment, while Colorado continues adding costs and complexity. This bill sends the wrong message. When you tax software and cloud services, you are effectively taxing productivity, innovation, and growth. These costs may seem small individually, but they add up quickly, especially for small businesses and growing companies operating on thin margins. Supporters argue that this new revenue will find a refundable tax credit for families, but this bill raises costs on businesses and digital commerce in order to fund direct payments through the tax code at a time when we should be making encouraging investments and in entrepreneurship. This bill instead makes it more expensive to do business in Colorado. Colorado should be focused on attracting technology, innovation, and economic growth, not taxing the very tools that make modern business possible. So for those reasons, Mr. Chairman, I urge a no vote on House Bill 26-1223.
Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, you've heard a lot about the bill. I'm probably just going to get right to my amendments that I did give to the good sponsors earlier today, so hopefully that will help with some of the discussion. So, members, in the fiscal note, this is the part that caught my eye, is that the amount of the enhanced family affordability credit depends on the estimated amount of the state revenue increase. Okay, the amount depends on the estimated amount of the state revenue increase that results from the sales tax exemption change in the bill. And it starts in December of 27 from forecasts of Legislative Council, who is required to determine the maximum dollar amounts of the EFAC so that the projected aggregate total of tax credits claimed is equal to the net amount of the revenue gain attributable to the narrowing of the software sales tax exemption. So we're basing all of this on an estimate. We all know how forecast works. They're always wrong because they're just a forecast. It's their best guess. So first of all, it's an estimate. And then second of all, the downloadable software exemption, under current law, only software that is prepackaged via a tangible physical medium is subject to state sales tax now. And examples of that software are listed in the fiscal note. I'm sure they're listed other places. I'm not going to go through them. But again, estimated amount of tax revenue, the Leg Council makes a determination based on the maximum dollars amounts that they think would be available. And then there are certain downloadable software exemptions that there are under certain laws, software that is prepackaged. So here's the problem. The Department of Revenue has no ability to how much revenue this generates. It's a best guess. It's all based on estimates and what Leg Council thinks should be the maximum amount, but they have no ability, really even through the Legislative Council services or even over at the Department of Revenue. They have no ability to tell us how much revenue is actually generated. It will truly be a best guess. Because here's the thing, retailers don't itemize this. It all just goes in together on the report, and they're not itemizing it. There's already some of these things that are taxed, some things that are not taxed, but we're going to tax it also. It's not itemized. We don't know, and they don't have the ability to tell us how much revenue is generated. So with that, I'll ask for an amendment.
There's an amendment at the desk. Will the clerk please read L 27?
Amendment L 27, amend reading gross bill, strike
Senator
current.
Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L027.
To the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In this bill, on page 10, it talks about for the current calendar year, a projection of the amount of state revenue gained directly attributed to the changes made in this bill, notwithstanding the credits created in this section. So this is where, and I asked several questions about this in the appropriations, it's supposed to be a dollar for dollar. We're only going to have a taxable refund for the amount that can actually be attributed to the sales that are generated, the revenues that is generated. And as I just got done explaining, the Department of Revenue, LCS, they have no ability to tell us how much revenue is actually generated. So in this case, instead of saying that it would be retrospective, in other words, based off of the current calendar year, that we would change current to previous, so that it would be prospective. Am I saying that right? No. Instead of it being prospective, which is based off of our best guess, like I said, retailers don't itemize. Department of Revenue has no ability to tell us how much revenue is actually generated. So instead of it being retrospective, instead of it being prospective, it would end up being retrospective. We would change current to previous so that it is no longer a projection, that we would have actually at least a better idea on our best guess, as best as we possibly could, to how much money needs to be part of the taxable refund. With that, I would ask for an aye vote on L027.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Zamora Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise in support of L027. As my colleague from Brighton had mentioned, I mean, this brings the forecast better in alignment. You already know what has happened versus looking forward. So I urge a yes vote on L027. Thank you.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We appreciate the good senator from Brighton sharing this amendment and others with us. But however, we ask for a no vote on this. We already do most of the tax credits this way, and so this would make this a little bit of an outlier in that respect, and we ask for a no vote.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before us is the adoption of L27. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. The noes have it. That amendment is lost. To the bill, Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have another amendment.
There is another amendment at the desk. Will the clerk please read L28?
Amendment L28, amendment in gross bill
Senator
page 10.
Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L028.
To the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Given that the last one passed, and I understand that we do most of our tax credits the way that we're asking on this one, the difference is, again, the Department of Revenue has no ability to tell how much revenue is being generated. So there we go. Retailers don't itemize this, so it's always going to be an estimate that's attributed to the downloadable software and how much tax revenue is actually coming in. We will never know if the estimates are wrong unless we are actually making and requiring folks to look at this and come back later. But we know that they probably will be wrong. For example, we could collect over $40 million, or we could think we were going to. We'd estimate that we're going to collect $40 million and actually only collect $30 million. So this amendment asks for that we put in place basically a mechanism that we could claw back, so an over-refund mechanism, which might sound crazy because we've talked about over-refund mechanisms on other bills. But in this case, an over-refund mechanism would say that we actually would claw it back in the next year and we would put a procedure in place. This one, this taxable refund is not going to go out over 2 years. We're not going to say that there's accounting principles that are in place. We're not going to close our books. We're actually going to say, look, the estimate was wrong. It estimated $40 million. We gave out $40 million when in reality, as best as we could tell after more forecasts came in or there was other data that was examined, that we actually only collected $30 million and that we should claw back that $10 million or at least ensure that there is an over-refund mechanism in place. So we would get that money back and we wouldn't be giving out additional refund, because if we don't receive the amount of estimated tax revenues and we don't get that correct and we hand out $40 million when actually it was only $30 million, we're talking about general fund money that's going out the door that shouldn't be. So I'm asking that we put in place a ability to have a policy that is in place, a mechanism in place, that should there be an over refund, or we've gone over it, that there is a mechanism in place for the over refund. And I ask for an aye vote on L28.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of L28. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. The noes have it, and that amendment is lost. To the bill, Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
have a feeling there's another amendment on the way. There is an amendment at the desk. Will the clerk please read L29?
Amendment L29, amending Gross Bill
Senator
page 6.
Kirkmeyer,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L029.
to the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment simply puts a sunset on it, or a repeal date effective July 1 of 2031. It allows for this process to go on for 5 years, and then we would make a determination whether or not it's working, or how much money we've actually refunded out that would have been general fund because we don't have any over refund mechanism, and because everything's an estimate. So again, asking for a section that would repeal the credit effective July 1, 2031. That would give us plenty of time to figure out if this is actually working, if it should be extended. If not, we should get rid of the program. If we find out that we're giving away general fund monies that we shouldn't be, then we shouldn't be continuing on with this program. So asking for a sunset on it, it's no different than what we've done on other essential tax credits. However, this is a refundable tax credit, but at the same time, we've done sunsets on other tax credits. I think we should be fiscally prudent in managing our budget in the state of Colorado and what we're doing with our tax revenues, and would ask that we have a repeal of this. And again, if it's working, we can just simply extend it like we do other sunsets. So asking for an aye vote on L029.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of L029. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. The noes have it. That amendment is lost. To the bill, any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1223. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that bill is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1272?
House Bill 1272 by Representative Froelich and Velasco and Senators Cutter and Weissman concerning protections for workers necessitated by climate change and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Weissman.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. We move 1272 on the Appropes report.
To the Appropes report. Any discussion?
Appropriations adjusted. The appropriate in response to an updated fiscal note. Ask for a yes vote.
How appropriate. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before us is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. That report is adopted. To the bill. Any discussion? Senator Cutter. Senator Cutter.
I'm good.
Any further discussion? Senator Pelton, R.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, I thought last year when we saw this bill that maybe we wouldn't see it again, but here we are. You know, if people that live on the Front Range could come out to Senate District 35 any time of the year, you're going to find people working outside, whether it be construction, agriculture, oil and gas. We have to work in all weather conditions. Otherwise, it just doesn't get done. If it doesn't get done, bills don't get paid. It's just the way it is. So with that, Mr. Chair.
There is an amendment at the desk. Will the clerk please read L13?
Amendment L13, amending Gross Bill, page 9, strike lines 26,
Senator
27.
Pelton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L13.
To the amendment.
Thank you. What this amendment would do, in the bill, it requires that, or it says that the trip could be updated constantly, like whenever somebody feels there's a change needs to be done, it can be done. What this amendment would do would make it to where the updates could only happen every 5 years. There's a lot of uncertainty if you're changing the rules and constantly as you're moving along. I think this adds stability to employers, that they can plan on things, they can plan long-term. I think it's a great bill or a great amendment that needs added to this bill. So I'd urge a yes vote on 13.
Senator Weissman.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Members, going to ask for a no vote. Part of the idea of a trip is it is meant to be responsive to practices gleaned from employers that are doing this right. I think to have it freeze for 5 years would actually shut out dynamic input as realities evolve and as employer practices and desires evolve. Also, just to clarify, the bill is not generated by the Front Range. I happen to be a Front Range legislator. I have plenty of people who work in construction, in public works contracting, roofing, landscaping in my district, but actually 2 years ago now, the bill arose to us really from advocates on behalf of folks who do work outside, chiefly in rural areas of the state, on the west slope. So we very much understand there are folks who work outside and need to, and the question is just that they can do so safely. Ask for a no vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of L13. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The noes have it. That amendment is lost. To the bill, Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, colleagues. I also have an amendment on this bill.
There is an amendment at the
It
desk.
moves-
Will the clerk please read L15?
Amendment L15.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L15.
To the amendment.
Thank you. So, as was just mentioned by the good senator from Aurora, this bill has origins from the Western Slope, and I, of course, represent a lot of communities with a lot of outdoor recreation business and a lot of folks that work outside, certainly in the heat, but most predominantly in the cold. And so I've heard from a lot of constituents about this bill and a lot of employers. What my amendment would do is not drastically change the bill, would still allow all the data collection to go forward, which I think could provide very useful information. But then it just changes the requirement that the division develop a trip to a may develop a trip should the data that they gathered justify doing so. So I think it would be a good intermediate step to let's look at the data that we collect and then decide to take action. Let's not predetermine the action that we're going to take before we even get the data to inform that action. So this would, I think, give a little more certainty to employers and employees, certainly in my district, but all across the state, and would appreciate your support.
Senator Cutter.
Oh, did you have?
Senator Pelton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise in support of this amendment. Just changing one word really makes a difference in this bill and this policy. So I rise in full support of this amendment.
Senator Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you to the good senator from Summit County for sharing this amendment. However, this bill has been negotiated down for the last 2 years. The policy now only collects data and requires a model plan. I don't think it's too difficult to have some pretty basic processes in there that would address extreme heat, like making sure water is available, et cetera. It's not requiring anybody to do these things. It's not requiring anybody to adopt this plan. It's simply existing as a resource. So I'm not quite sure why that's an issue. So as I said, we've really reduced this bill dramatically. So I would ask for a no vote on this amendment.
Senator Pelton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think just asking it to be a may from a shall isn't much to ask. The reasons why, if you've ever had to work construction over on the Western Slope, ever, it is extreme colds and extreme heats. And there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, it's just one of those things where we would pull wire through the holes of on 2x4s, and you would snap that wire and it would break because that's how cold it was. You had to be careful when you were working. But that's, when you're dealing with this extreme heat, it's not a big deal to deal with it where you just say from a may or from a shall to a may. Just may do the trips. That's it. Not asking for much here. I ask for an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of L15. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. The noes have it. That amendment is lost. To the bill. Any further discussion? Senator Catton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm here this evening. I want to explain that I've got a number of employers on the Western Slope in my district and around the communities that I live in that are seriously concerned about this. I don't think they understand it. I don't think that anybody's reached out to them. They are worried about how they're going to go about doing some of these kind of things. The cold, and it's been talked about already, the heat in my country is probably where the biggest concerns are. But the assumption that we're not taking care of those people seems a little out of line with me. Those people that are helping us on these farms, they're well taken care of, believe me. There's never been a complaint that I know of. I think this is pushing it a little too far. Ask for a no.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1272. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. That bill is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1141?
House Bill 1141 by Representatives Bacon and Senators Colker and Marchman concerning civil rights violations involving discriminatory practices in public schools.
Senator Colker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1141.
Is there any discussion? Senator Frizzell.
Good evening, Mr. Chair.
Good evening.
Members, I have several pieces of heartburn about this bill, but one thing in particular. With that, I have an amendment.
There's an amendment at the desk. Will the clerk please read L16?
Amendment L16. Amend reading gross bill, page 4, strike
Senator
line 6.
Frizzell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move amendment L016 to House Bill 1141.
To the amendment.
Thank you. Members, this amendment simply strikes language from, I believe it's section 2 in the bill, where pregnancy and parental status have been added to the list of protected classes under Colorado's Anti-Discrimination Act. In this way, it may be intended to protect pregnant mothers and fathers from discrimination, but instead it impacts the ability of many nonprofits and individuals to exercise their First Amendment rights of speech and expression on issues related to abortion and options for women in crisis pregnancy that are not termination. All this means is that a pro-life group on a public college campus that engages in, quote, unwelcome physical or verbal contact or any written, pictorial, or visual communication, unquote, would be considered harassment. So this includes, but it's not limited to, hosting tables for information on pregnancy option or the harms of medication or surgical abortion. It could mean speaking with pregnant women about their options. It could mean hosting events or speakers that address abortion or pregnancy options. Or it could even mean sharing written or visual communication flyers about the harms of abortion or pregnancy options. And with that, I ask for an aye vote on this amendment.
Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I do appreciate the amendment from my good colleague from Douglas County, I believe Highlands Ranch. However, I am going to ask for a no vote on this amendment. This would strike out Section 2 of our bill, and the intention of Section 2, this was from the bill we ran in 23-296, and what this is that harassment and discrimination is not allowed in K-12 public schools, and so we're just adding to the list that if you're gonna tease people, don't tease them for being pregnant or perhaps parents in K-12 public schools. So I appreciate the amendment, but I am gonna respectfully ask for a no vote on L16.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing no discussion of the amendment, the question before us is the adoption of L16. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The noes have it. That amendment is lost. Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I just want to point out again the title of this bill, concerning civil rights violations involving discriminatory practice in public schools. House Bill 261141 is an expansion of the Colorado's Anti-Discrimination Act, which codifies discrimination against students and school employees who disagree with the state definition of human sexuality. The body has expanded the Colorado Anti-Discrimination Act, or CADA, 3 times in 4 years, starting with House Bill 21-1108, which expanded protected classes to include sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. In 2024, 241124 added financial penalties to criminal penalty for discriminating against CADA. In 2025, I think we all remember this one, House Bill 251312 added new definitions of dead naming and misgendering to enforceable actions under CADA. Now, in House Bill 261141, further expands CADA by specifying grievance procedures for students and employees who are accused of acts of discrimination, including verbally professing their religious or sincerely held beliefs about human sexuality, marriage, and sanctity of life for preborn children on both private and public education K-12 or higher education campuses. This bill was originally drafted to include only public K-12 and higher education. It was amended on the House floor to require K-12 private schools also be subject to the Public Accommodation Clause in the Colorado Anti-Discrimination Act, and therefore would be subject to the grievance procedures and other state sanctions for expressing their well-founded beliefs on human sexuality and marriage, opposed to the state definition of Colorado Anti-Discrimination Act. The bill went through a strike below in the House Appropriations, where it lost its fiscal note, and both public and private were removed from the statutory language, which suggests now that all private and public K-12 and higher education schools are subject to the non-discrimination provisions in this bill. This bill empowers the Colorado Civil Rights Commission to file charges against schools and individuals who violate this law. This is the same commission whose rulings were reversed in U.S. Supreme Court cases, the Masterpiece Cake Shop and the 303 Creative, for also wrongfully punishing citizens who live out their beliefs in the public sphere. This bill is pushing the same narrative, which we've had 2 cases in front of the Supreme Court that were also the same thing, wrongfully punishing citizens who live out their beliefs in the public sphere. I think we all know what happened when the rulings were reversed on the Masterpiece Cake Shop and 303 Creative. The AG's office has weighed in to some extent on this bill and had concerns about this bill. With that, I won't go into everything within the bill, but I do have a couple amendments, and I'll start with this one.
There's an amendment in the desk. Will the clerk please read L18?
Amendment L18.
Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L018.
To the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment simply adds public in front of educational in 2 places. It is on, if you're looking at the re-engrossed bill, which I am, it's on page 3, line 1, where you add in public in front of educational. It's right there at the top of the page. And then on page 4, line 5, before educational, you would insert public. Again, this bill started off with saying that it is concerning civil rights violations involving discriminatory practices in public schools. So I'm merely just putting back into place what this bill was intended to do in the first place, which was for public schools, which I'm not going to say I'd like, but it isn't supposed to be for private schools or religious schools. Remember, this bill now is empowering the Colorado Civil Rights Commission to file charges against both public and private schools and individuals who violate this law. Just going to remind you again, we have been through a couple of court cases and they went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court and you lost. The commission whose rulings were reversed in the U.S. Supreme Court cases were the Masterpiece Cake Shop and 303 Creative. They were reversed because they wrongfully punished citizens who live out their beliefs in the public sphere. This bill also requires that a Title VI coordinator be appointed to manage school, student, and employee compliance with the Civil Rights Act. In practical terms, this bill would not permit student organizations at colleges or K-12 campuses to host speakers or events that promote marriage as between one man and one woman, or argue that gender and biological sex are the same thing, or conform to one biological sex assigned at birth. Just want to clarify, this amendment starts that by clarifying that this applies to public schools, thus stopping the state and the Civil Rights Commission from infringing on First Amendment rights and hopefully avoiding litigation, costly litigation. It is not just the private schools that go through the litigation, it is the state. Been there, done that twice. You lost. It was reversed. We're wrongfully punishing citizens who live out their beliefs in the public sphere. So again, asking to clarify, asking to put back in this bill what the original intent was for public schools. There was even a definition in the original bill that all got struck. So again, asking that we put public in front of educational in 2 places in Section 1, and I would ask for an aye vote on this amendment.
Senator Zamora Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise in support of Amendment L018. So as my colleague from Brighton just pointed out, I'm so glad that you pointed this out because I've been chomping at the bit. I mean, the title says concerning civil rights violations involving discriminatory practices in public schools. So when they did the strike below, they included language that went beyond the scope of the title. This just makes sense. This amendment brings things back into perspective. I urge an aye vote on L018. Thank you.
Seeing no, Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to my good colleague from near Brighton, I believe. I just wanted to focus on what the definition of a place of public accommodation is. It's got 10 different definitions, and the 9th one is an educational institution, which is what we're talking about here. But it's any business offering wholesale or resale, place to eat, drink, or sleep, sporting or rec facility, public transportation, a barber shop, a campsite, a dispensary, clinic, hospital, a mortuary, an educational institution, or any public building, park, a theater, or hall. So it does not include a church, a synagogue, a mosque, or other place that is principally used for religious purposes. But beyond that, that is the place of public accommodation that we're pointing to. So I'd urge a no vote on L18.
Senator Zamora Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So if it does no harm, then let's vote for this, right? This just makes sense. Like I said, it brings it back to what the title, the scope of the title. And so I urge an aye vote on L018.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of L018. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The noes have it. That amendment is lost. Seeing Senator Kolker. There is an amendment at the desk. Will the clerk please read L17?
Amendment L17, amend
Senator
Engross Bill.
Colker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L17 to House Bill 1141.
To the amendment.
This is just taking out on page 3, line 19, striking "or constructive" in the bill because it's too broad. We're just narrowing what that harassment is. So constructive would be too broad of a definition. We're trying to narrow that down. I encourage an aye vote.
Deconstructing constructive. Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of L17. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. That amendment is adopted. To the bill, Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I am Catholic, and I went to a Catholic school. And the foundation of that Catholic school is our religious beliefs. And in those schools, we have catechism and Catholic courses. And I understand what it says in law right now, but I also understand what's going on in this bill, which essentially would apply to private schools, like the Catholic school that I attended. It could infringe upon my First Amendment rights. I think it could lead into litigation, this bill. In fact, I know it probably will. So I just don't think that we should be passing legislation that we know already, where we've had a Colorado Civil Rights Commission whose rulings were reversed in the U.S. Supreme Court. And they are based on people's own beliefs. In those cases, in the Masterpiece Cake Shop and in the 303 Creative, they were based on their religious beliefs, whether or not they should have to serve individuals who are opposite of their religious beliefs. And those rulings were reversed in the U.S. Supreme Court. This bill basically does infringe on people's First Amendment rights, freedom of religion, freedom to express their own beliefs. They shouldn't have to worry about being called out for harassment or discrimination. The definition in here is harassment or discrimination means to engage in, or the act of engaging in, any unwelcome physical or verbal conduct, or any written, pictorial, or visual communication by a student or employee that is directed at a student or group of students because of that student's or group's membership in or perceived membership in a protected class based on disability, race, creed, color, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, family composition, pregnancy, parental status, religion, age, national origin, or ancestry, which conduct or communication is objectively offensive to a reasonable individual who is a member of the same protected class. It's pretty broad. Pretty much covered everything. I'm asking for yet another amendment on this bill.
There is an amendment at the desk. Will the clerk please read L15?
Amendment L15, amend Engross Bill, page 4, after line 5,
Senator
insert.
Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L015.
To the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment would be added in section 1 at the very end, and it would be a Roman numeral 4, and it would state, this section does not require an educational institution to take action or provide educational or other services that are inconsistent with the educational institution's sincerely held religious beliefs. And yes, we have institutions, educational institutions, that are religious in nature. That's what they do. And so basically asking again that we would clarify that this does not apply to essentially private schools that have sincerely held religious beliefs, that they should not have to be required to take action or provide educational or other services that are inconsistent with those religious beliefs. And again, just trying to make sure that our First Amendment rights are protected. You know, that First Amendment is pretty darn important. and that we avoid litigation, because that's where we're headed here. This bill started off talking about discriminatory practices in public schools, not in private schools. Yet it got broadened. I'm not sure how that fits under the title, but somehow it did. And so, again, asking for an aye vote on L15 just says they don't have to provide those services or take action when it's inconsistent with the educational institution's sincerely held religious beliefs. Those words are determined specifically. I mean, I think if you go back and you start looking in some of these cases where the rulings were reversed, you'll find out why that language is in there. So I ask for an aye vote because, again, trying to defend and protect our constitutional rights, that's our requirement. That is the oath that we take, is to defend and protect the Constitution and those constitutional rights. And as legislators, we should always try to avoid litigation, especially when we know it's pending or when it could be pending, depending on if this bill passes or not. So I ask for an aye vote on L15.
Senator Zamora-Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise in support of L015. Colleagues, I mean, we have private schools. The parents are there. Most of them are there because they don't agree with the teachings in the public school. So they are there purposely, by their will, to exercise their First Amendment. Freedom of speech and freedom of religion. And so this amendment ensures that they can continue. If we don't have these protections, I mean, already enrollment in public schools is going down. I know that families who I share beliefs in the Bible, we have a faith, we're feeling like we can't express our faith, and families are leaving. And it's these kinds of bills that will cause us to leave. It's already happening. And so I urge you, please keep these protections in. Amendment 015 ensures these families can exercise their First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, how they want to raise their kids, and the information that they don't want their kids exposed to. That's why they go to private school. And so I can't overemphasize, if we don't do this, you're going to see more families leave because they don't have, I already said it, but it bears repeating. The ability to exercise their First Amendment. That is so important, especially raising children. We raise our children the way in alignment with our faith. And so I urge an aye vote on Amendment L015. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of L15. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The noes have it. That amendment is lost to the bill. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1141. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. That bill is adopted. Will the clerk please read L 1424?
House Bill 1424 by Representative Wilford and Frola, considers Cutter and Wallace, concerning measures to increase protections for persons engaged with transportation network companies.
Senator Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1424 on second reading.
And
Oh, and the
T&E report?
Transportation and Energy Committee report.
Seeing no discussion of the T&E report, the question before us is the adoption of that report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. That report is adopted. To the bill, any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1424. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. That bill is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1138?
House Bill 1138 by Representatives Woog and Espinosa and Senators Rodriguez and Kirkmeyer, concerning measures to prevent organized retail theft and in connection therewith, creating the Retail Theft Prevention Advisory Board and the Retail Theft Prevention Grant Program in the Division of Criminal Justice.
Senator Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1138 and ask for an aye vote.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1138. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. That bill is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1426?
House Bill 1426 by Representatives Camacho and Zakai and Senator Roberts, concerning the 2026 legislative report submitted by the Department of Law to the Joint Judiciary Committee of the General Assembly and in connection therewith implementing recommendations contained in the report.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1426.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1426. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. That bill is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1427?
House Bill 1427 by Representatives Espinosa and Senator Snyder, concerning updates to the Uniform Antitrust Pre-Merger Notification Act approved by the Uniform Law Commission.
Senator Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1427.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1427. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. That bill is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1274?
House Bill 1274 by Representative Lindsay and Garcia and Senators Wallace and Weissman, concerning authorization for a state agency to award a percentage of the total value of a grant agreement to the nonprofit and grantee of a grant program of the agency upon the execution of renewal of the grant agreement and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Wallace.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1274 on second reading.
Senator Pelton.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have an amendment.
There is an amendment at the desk. Will the clerk please read L6?
Amendment L6.
Senator
Amend.
Pelton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L006 to 1274.
To the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So basically what this amendment says is that if an administrating a state agency shall not authorize advance payment to a grantee pursuant to this section if a current member of the General Assembly serves as an employee, officer, director, contractor, or paid consultant of the grantee, or an immediate family member of the current member of the General Assembly receives compensation from the grantee, or as used in the subsection, compensation means salary, wages, consulting fees, retainers, or any other form of monetary payment.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of L006. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. No. The noes have it. That amendment is lost. To the bill. Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1274. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. That bill is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1286?
House Bill 1286 by Representatives Leader and Richardson and Senators Colker and Liston, concerning a requirement that a commercial motor vehicle have a human present when the commercial motor vehicle is being driven by an automated driving system and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Colker.
I move House Bill 1286 in the Appropriations Committee report.
There is no Appropriations Committee report to the bill. Any discussion?
Yes, we have an amendment.
There is an amendment at the desk. Will the clerk please read L19?
Amendment L19, amending gross bill, page 5, and strike page 5 and substitute.
Senator Colker.
I move Amendment 19 to House Bill 1286.
Is there any discussion? Seeing Senator Kipp? Senator Kipp.
I believe this is the amendment that turns us back into a referendum, and here's the deal. I mean, there was an agreement in the House. This bill never would have made it out of House appropriations if they hadn't taken this off of it, and now we're undoing that. That is just like not acceptable. We don't do that in this building. We keep to our agreements, and I would disagree with this. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, a division has been requested. Will all those in the chamber not entitled to vote please take a seat?
No, we just called division. He did.
Can you count for this?
The motion before the body is the adoption of L19 to House Bill 1286. All those who are not entitled to vote, please be seated. A division has been requested. So, all those in favor of L19, please stand. And remain standing. In favor, please stand and remain standing and stop moving. Please be seated. All those opposed? Chair is not in doubt. That amendment is lost. The motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1286. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and 1286 is adopted.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over the remainder of the calendar.
Motion is to lay over the remainder of the calendar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The remainder of the calendar will lay over. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
Motion is for the committee to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Committee will rise and report.
Senate will come to order. Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
On account.
May 11, 2026, Mr. President, Committee of the Whole begs leave to report as under consideration the following tax bills being the second reading thereof and makes the following recommendations thereon. House Bill 1326 as amended, House Bill 1255 as amended, House Bill 1065 as amended, House Bill 1102 as amended, House Bill 1223 as amended, House Bill 1272 as amended, House Bill 1141 as amended, House Bill 1424 as amended, House Bill 1138, House Bill 1426, House Bill 1427, House Bill 1274, House Bill 1286, passed on second reading in order to revise and place in the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1335, House Bill 1281, House Bill 1289, House Bill 1309, House Bill 1325, House Bill 1416, House Bill 1422, House Bill 1425, House Bill 1429, House Bill 1433, House Bill 1418, laid over until May 12, 2026, and retaining their place in the calendar.
Senator Bridges. Thank you, Mr. President. I move the report.
Senator 1205. The motion is the adoption committee of the whole report. There's a member of the desk, Mr. Schaffler. Please read. S001.
Amendment
Senator Pelton
S001.
B.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move S001 to House Bill 1274.
To the amendment.
Members, all this amendment says is that anybody that gets any money from a grantee or from a current member of the General Assembly serves as an employee, officer, director, contractor, or paid consultant of a grantee. Well, all it says is that we can't do that. So this just offers transparency to what we do and just making sure that we are transparent in what we do. So I ask for an aye vote.
Senator Weissman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, the entire bill is discretionary. Department is not required to offer advanced payment at all. Second, there's already extensive rules negotiated with DPA that would advise the rest of the state on this to protect the public fisc. We don't want to make this about personalities. Ask for a no vote.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will take a 17C regarding this bill, or regarding this amendment. Thank you.
Very good. Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the adoption of S001. Senator Gonzalez will be recorded as a 17C. Are there any no votes on S001? Senators Kipp, Judah, all right, no votes. Senator Kipp, Judah, Cutter, Mr. Majority Leader, Weissman, Wallace, Benavidez, Henriksen, Ball, Danielson, Sullivan, Colker. Please add the president. With a vote of 21 ayes, 13 noes, 0 absent, and 0 excused, and 117C, S001 is adopted. Further discussion on the Committee of the Whole report. Seeing none, the motion is adopted. Committee of the Whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 0 excused, Committee of the Whole report is adopted. House Bill 1326 is amended, 1255 is amended, 1065 is amended, 1102 is amended, 1223 is amended, 1272 is amended, 1141 is amended, 1424 is amended, 1138, 1426, 1427, 1274, 1286 passed, second reading order of Vice President, third reading, final passage, House Bill 1335, House Bill 1281, House Bill 1289, House Bill 1309, House Bill 1325, House Bill 1416, House Bill 1422, House Bill 1425, 1429, 1433, and 1418, laid over until 5/12/2026, planning to place on the calendar. And 1274 as amended. Mr. Majority Leader. Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate adjourn until 12:01, Tuesday, May the 12th. You heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will adjourn until 12:01 a.m.